Welcome back to the early edition of Sneakers and Cleats. 10 o'clock on a Monday, bright and early, coffee in hand. It is June 17th. This is episode 110. Remember to download, rate, review, subscribe to the Sneakers and Cleats podcast on the News 4 and Fox Facebook pages. I'm here with David Chancellor. David, how are you today?
I'd take exception to your bright and early. This is towards the end of the day.
Well, this is midday for you.
This is at least midday. This is the tipping point of midday to well into the afternoon.
For someone who comes in at 3:30 in the morning, this is kind of mid-afternoon. For me, this is early.
But anyway, Monday's good.
Weekend
was good. Everything's fine.
Monday is good, especially after Father's Day. Happy Father's Day to everybody. Happy Father's Day to you.
Thank you.
We're going to talk U.S. Open, which was the Father's Day gift that just kept on giving last night. Rory basically choked, and Bryson came up with some brilliant shots. So we'll talk about that. Caitlin Clark getting her head taken off by Angel Reese yesterday. We'll talk about that.
Come on.
Against the Chicago Sky. Is their rivalry good for the sport or not? Plus, I have a bone to pick with David from something he said right here on this very podcast last year.
Let me guess.
I have a feeling you're going to be able to guess.
Let me guess. 3 little letters.
Actually, it's not.
Oh, okay.
Actually, it's not. I'm surprised for you. It's not that.
All right.
Assuming you're talking about Dak.
I was.
Yes.
I'm
not talking about Dak.
All right. Good.
I have a whole nother aspect to get to. So, David, first and foremost, how was your Father's Day?
It was great. We went to gyms. Man, I hadn't been to gyms in forever. You've lived here long enough. I have
not been to gyms.
Oh God.
I've also not been to Bill Miller's.
What? Okay, so this is what we're gonna do very fast. These are the things that you're going to do. You're gonna go to Bill Miller. You're gonna get a sweet tea, and you're gonna get an order of the brownies. Anybody can do the barbecue. You're gonna get the brownies, the sweet tea, and possibly the order of green beans. Those are the 3 things that if you show up and you order those, everybody knows you're a local. When it comes to gyms, I found something out last week. I told somebody here that I was going to gyms for Father's Day, and they said, "Oh my God, you got to get the spaghetti." And I said, "The spaghetti?" And they said, "Oh my God, it's Italian restaurant quality." I did not get the spaghetti yesterday. I got breakfast. They have great biscuits. They have great grits. I love gyms. Go to gyms. By the way, Father's Day was good. We did that. And I got a really cool gift. My wife gave me 2 tickets to the Def Leppard concert that's coming in August.
Nice.
I am psyched. This is the 4th time that I will have seen them. I'm one of the ones, I don't think rare ones, but I'm one of the ones that has seen them where the drummer had pre-accident and post-accident.
Oh, really?
With the yeah. So I've seen them a lot. I love them. They're one of my all-time favorite hair band groups. So we're gonna be rocking out at the Alamo Dome. Is that August 16th? I think it's August 16th.
Don't bother David on August 16th.
No. But it was good.
Well, that's great. And you catch some of the U.S. Open last night?
I tuned in just long enough to see Rory choke twice.
So that was pretty much what you needed to see.
That's all we need to see.
That was what you needed to see. So before we get to everything, let's start with our number game as we usually do. Number 10. So this is 110. So what does number 10 remind you of? Pele is the number 10 that came to mind last night when I was thinking about this, as well as Eli Manning. Manning
those
is
are
the number
good.
10.
There's a cowboy who's number 10, and I can't think of it. So let's just go with Pele.
All right. I'm going with Eli. Eli's who I thought of just because it's more my generation. But do you think Eli's a Hall of Famer?
Yeah, he beat him. He won 2 Super Bowls.
Is that what gets you in the Hall of Fame?
I think so.
Super Bowls?
He
was literally a 500 quarterback.
It's literally all he did, right? But so here's the flip of that. Like Tony Romo was a much better overall quarterback than Eli Manning.
Yeah, I could say that.
But he did not have the obvious success that Eli did, and it sucks for Romo because Romo's talent is undeniable. Romo's numbers are undeniable. However, when push came to shove, he didn't win when he needed to, and so that's why he's not a Hall of Famer. So I think Eli, he deserves it because of the Super Bowls, and I think ultimately that's probably what happens to Dak.
Do you think that's what gets Phillip Rivers into, is like his numbers, but not his Super Bowls? Like, do you think Phillip Rivers is a Hall of Fame quarterback then?
I think of him more as a in
'Cause his
higher
stats are
stature
phenomenal.
that Romo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
His stats are ridiculous.
Yeah.
So, Walt Frazier also number 10, DeAndre Hopkins, Tyreek Hill, both number 10s. In 2010, the Saints beat the Colts. The Colts were 5-point favorites. I don't know why I put -7 next to the Saints, but that was the onside kick to open the second half game. Sean Payton actually commented on that the other day, because with these new kickoff rules, you're not going to really going to be able to surprise.
I'm anxious to see how that happens.
Me too. You're not really going to be able to surprise onside anybody. And so he was asked in a press conference the other day, he's like, "Are you mad that you're not going to be able to surprise onside anybody?" He's like, "I think you should go ask the Colts that." It's good little.
He's so petty.
Good little dig.
He's such
he is very petty.
Very petty, sarcastic man.
Alabama beat Texas in the BCS National Championship game at the Rose Bowl. That was 37-21.
That was the Colt game, right? Where Colt got hurt?
That was the Colt game. The Giants beat the Rangers 4-1 in the 2010 World Series. And then here at the Alamo Dome, UConn won the national championship over Stanford, finishing their 39-0 season. Were you there covering that one?
Probably.
It's one of the many events that you were at.
Yeah, I think so. One of the UConn, I remember going to La Vita after one UConn championship. I don't know if it was the men or the women, but both have won championships here in San Antonio. But yeah, I was probably there.
And then 30 years ago today.
Oh.
We are looking at live pictures of Interstate 5 in Los Angeles. We believe that white vehicle, which is being trailed by a phalanx of California Highway Patrol cars and helicopters, belongs to Al Cowlings, who disappeared with O.J. Simpson earlier today, shortly after Mr. Simpson was informed that he was going to be formally charged with the murder of his wife and the young man who was with her at the time. It is the latest bizarre development in a string of bizarre and shocking developments that have been going on.
That's crazy.
Where were you?
I was at Eric Pfeiffer's house. I just graduated from Trinity, and a bunch of us were hanging out watching the Knicks and Rockets, and we were watching that split screen, and it was, I mean, it's as surreal now as it was then, probably even more so, because you listen to it. Like, you listen to Tom Brokaw, and he's doing the newsman thing, right? Mm-hmm. But he has no idea, because he's living in the moment. He has no idea all of what is about to happen and all of what is going to change the course of history for our country over the next X amount of time.
Yeah, absolutely. He doesn't even know if O.J. Simpson's in the car.
Right.
Like, they have no idea what's going on.
Right.
I remember exactly. No, I don't. I wasn't alive for that. But I think it's.
Is that right?
I wasn't alive. I was a year and 4 months away from even being born. But I think it's telling that you remember exactly where you were for that moment. Like, there's some moments in sports that just transcend time. There's some moments in history that just transcend time. I remember exactly where I was, like, when 9/11 happened and when all those things happened. I think it's interesting that moment right there, you remember exactly where you were.
Well, it's weird. I don't know if weird's the right word, but you said, there's moments in sports history. I mean, it's I don't know. I mean, yes, it's sports because he's, obviously who he was. And it was during this huge, epic, not epic, but NBA Finals game. And so we're doing all that kind of stuff. However, it is, I mean, off the top of my head, if we did the top 10 things in our country's history over the last 50 years, it's easily in the top 10.
Yeah, 100%.
I mean, it might easily be in the top 5.
I think it's in the top 5 for things that cultivated, or not cultivated, but like people gravitated towards the most. Like, people remember that more than they remember almost anything.
Almost anything political.
Yeah, 100%.
I mean, other than 9/11, just because of the sheer magnitude.
Right.
And, like, I don't know. I mean, I don't want to get into this, but, like, I guess maybe I do. I mean, I think people talk more about where they were with the OJ deal than they certainly would, I believe, on January 6th.
Yeah.
And you can argue, obviously, January 6th has so much more implications and gravity to our country's history than accused murderer of, driving the streets of LA.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's just such a crazy moment. I didn't even realize that 30 years ago today was that moment until I got on Twitter this morning. So had to throw it in there. But
yeah, cool.
All right, I got a bone to pick with David Chancellor, and
Let's
we're
do
going to
it.
get to it right now. So last year, September 29th, 2023, right here on this very podcast, David had the take.
I have no idea what's
David,
coming.
he has no idea. David had the take of all takes about Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift.
So my wife and I had a bet that we made it on Monday night. I said it would go 2 more weeks. She said it would go till my son's birthday, which is November 3rd. So she's got a full month. I have so the Chiefs have who? They have the Jets this week, and then do we know who they play the following week?
Give me 10 seconds.
So that's what I'm thinking is the cutoff here.
Is next week?
I guess it would be after next.
You have not a lot of faith in these guys.
I mean,
they play the Vikings next week.
Yeah, no, I think that at some point she's pulling the ripcord on the Viking
All right,
game.
so
you
were just a little off.
I was doubting love. I am not Cupid. I didn't see true love in front of me. When's the wedding?
I was thinking about that yesterday, this whole week.
God, how bad was that?
After you came on, or after I knew that you were coming on today, I was like, wait a second, didn't he say that they were going to break up in October?
I mean, you know what it is? She doesn't have to write. I know what it is. This is it. This is why. Here's my excuse. She's just touring. She doesn't need any sort of material yet to write an album, to write any breakup songs. The moment the next album is ready to come out, boom. Like, I think this is also hindsight 2020. This is how I see it. I thought from the jump that he was sort of like, oh, this is fun. I'll date Taylor Swift for a moment, right? He's the big bad, stud athlete. She, I think, falls in love a lot. Okay. So bad. That's so bad. But I think that. Truth be known, I think he's the puppy dog. I think he is head over heels in love. And she may be too, but he is, traipsing around the world. Where's the Eras tour? I'm ready to go.
After that.
And by the way, I think I would too.
Absolutely. I cut it off right there. But after that, I said, when she breaks up with him, and you were like, oh, you think she breaks up with him? He's definitely going to break up with her.
Oh, absolutely.
I think you've come along to my side
yes.
now.
I thought 100% he would be like, I'm out. I'm not dealing with this mess. I'm done. And lo and behold, young love.
Here we are going into the next football season. Maybe October this year is when
That's what I meant.
That's what I meant. I just thought, I was thinking about it. I was like, I got to bring this back. David's got to know what he said. But your Dak take we'll bring back at some point.
Oh, God. Guy's going to get $60 million from somebody, and then whoever's going to pay him way overpay him.
Yeah, we're not going to bring that up today because we have other stuff to get to. But the fact that Trevor Lawrence just got $55 million and that Jerry Jones is just waiting to pay Dak Prescott is going to bite everyone in the ass.
By the way, let's not do it, but I don't think they're going to pay him. I think this is it.
I think they're going to pay him.
We'll do that another day.
Yeah, Jerry Jones caves. That's what we know about Jerry Jones. All right, let's get to the U.S. Open. It was awesome yesterday. There was everything you wanted and more in that tournament. You had people from France, from Japan, from Northern Ireland, from the U.S., all competing for the U.S. Open. You had a live golfer who was at the top. You had the PGA stalwart in Rory McIlroy, who has been defending the PGA Tour and has been going on media campaigns and has been their pincushion essentially for years now. And you have both of them competing for this major title. You have Rory, who hasn't won one in 3,600 days, basically 10 years since the 2014 PGA. You have Bryson, who became...
Is that right? Is it 10 years?
Yeah, 2014 PGA.
Jeez.
I think it's 3,599 days today. 3,600 days tomorrow that he has not won a major title. You have Bryson, who was this horribly disliked person 4 years ago when he won. He won his only major championship at the U.S. Open during COVID, so there was no fans in the stand,
Right.
so he couldn't interact with any of them. Then he went to Live, and somehow he became more likable.
Why? How? How did the American public? Everybody loves a comeback, right? But he didn't come back. There's no comeback from Bryson. All Bryson did was go to Live, take $150 million, drop some weight, and come back over to the PGA Tour to compete in a handful of tournaments.
Yeah, but he became so much more likable because he was just a disgruntled, like, weird cat when he was on the PGA Tour. He's the only player that went to Live and became more likable. I don't really know how he did it, but his PR team deserves like a gold medal or something. But you see him everywhere on TikTok. He's doing fan interactions. He's doing these weird videos and challenges where he's playing with junior clubs or women's clubs and trying to hit par on holes. And he's doing all this media, and he's just become this friendly, likable person. I haven't seen a transformation of a public image like this in a very long time, maybe if ever. Because if you pay attention to the PGA Tour, if you pay attention to golf, when he was in that feud with Brooks, most people were on Brooks's side.
Yeah, which is crazy.
Because Bryson was being a douchebag. Like, he was being a douche.
Yeah.
And so
my father-in-law used that same word
Really?
in describing him. He goes yesterday at breakfast, he goes, and he's not anymore. But we were talking about it, and I said, he said, "Are you watching the U.S. Open?" And I said, "I am." I said, "And I'm going to be rooting like crazy for Rory." And he's like, "Oh, really?" He goes, I think I kind of like Bryson. And I don't know what's happened to Rory McIlroy. He is, everything that you just laid out is so perfect in the way the storyline is sort of, molded.
Mhm.
And then I saw this. I can't even take credit for this, but like, he's been fighting Greg Norman and Liv almost single-handedly by himself
for
the last couple of years. And he had a Greg Norman-like collapse yesterday. He had a collapse in a major championship that Norman would be appreciative of. It's not the fact that he blew a couple of strokes in the final 3 holes. It's the fact that we're talking a 2-foot putt. We're talking the one on 16 is unforgivable. 18 is fine because 18 was downhill. But 16, holy God.
For reference, he was 496 for 496. Perfect on 3-footers and in this season until 16th putt.
So the thing that I think is debatable about yesterday, whether or not you like Bryson DeChambeau or, Rory, there's 2 things that happened yesterday that everybody seems to be gravitating towards now, the day after. A, what did you think of the D-bag in the stands hollering out, USA, USA? All right. This is when Rory's trying to
This is it right after Rory blows it.
This is before.
Was this right before he
this
blew
is before. This is as he's trying to line up the putt and look and do all this kind of stuff. And then obviously, yes, afterwards as well. So A, that, and then B, this is my favorite. We see the camera shot of Rory in the scorer's tent.
He looks miserable.
Bryce, he looks miserable. He looks like he's got flu, COVID.
He looks like he wants to
ingrown
die.
tail,
Yeah,
or
like,
ingrown tail. Maybe an ingrown tail. The idea, and then he just bolts. He walks out, gets in his car, and leaves. And everybody's freaking out. Oh, it's horrible sportsmanship. Oh, look at this. Bryson lost one time to this guy, and he went up and he hugged the guy, and blah, blah, blah. So, poor sport or human being?
Okay.
So those 2 things are, to me, those are the 2 things that, like, I'm like, oh, this is good stuff.
Yeah. For both of those things, one, the storylines going into yesterday were awesome, as you pointed out. For both of those things, I think the context matters. One of the storylines going into yesterday was that Rory was paired up with Patrick Cantlay. If anyone likes golf, you remember the Ryder Cup last year.
Talk about unlikable.
Yeah, talk about unlikable. Patrick Cantlay is unlikable as hell. But you saw last year when Patrick Cantlay during the Ryder Cup, and he was the hat tip, and it was the no hat thing
because he wanted to get paid,
and it was all the context around that. So they had this feud going in. And so I think that the Ryder Cup and it being the U.S. Open, if this was, the Masters or if this was the PGA, I don't think that they would have been chanting USA, USA.
Right.
I think it was the fact that there was all these things that came into it. You playing with Patrick Cantlay. Now Rory was the one that blew up on the American team during the Ryder Cup, and now he's the one that's blowing the U.S. Open. I think that all of that played into it. So I really didn't mind the USA thing. Like, I get it. I get why people are a little mad about it.
Sure.
But I didn't think it was that big of a deal. And I'm going to sound like a Rory apologist, but like, I get why he left.
Yes.
I do. Like, he has carried the weight of the world. The weight of the PGA Tour has rested on his shoulders for years. 4 years, basically. They have been using him as their scapegoat. They've been using him as their pincushion. He has been taking the slings and arrows from the LIV fans and from golf people, and he's been doing it with class and as good as you can. And then the one time that he's right there for an Open, it's in his grasp. He birdies 9, 10, 12, 13. He has a 2-shot lead with 5 to play. He bogeys 3 out of the final 4 holes, including 2 putts in less than 4 feet. I completely understand why he left. That had to have been just gut-wrenching, horrifying. I can't even imagine what he was going through in that moment.
So I feel like some people on the internet, and the internet's always undefeated, and the internet's always wrong as well. People want it, but people want their cake and eat it too, right? They want golf decorum when it comes to, you know what, I need Rory to stick around and go out and shake Bryson's hand. That was never going to happen. Like, that's not going to happen. If you need that in your life, you got something wrong with your life. I have no doubt. And by the way, if it didn't happen, who cares anyway? But I have no doubt that at some point last night or today, Rory texted Bryson and said, "Hey man, congratulations." I'm good with that. I'm okay with that. This isn't the NBA Finals or the Super Bowl where the game ends all at one time. Guys are done. Guys are leaving. Rory wasn't going to walk back out onto the 18th green. He was done. He was done 10 minutes after Bryson was done. So he wasn't going to walk back out. But by the way, if you're hollering out, "Oh my gosh, golf decorum," but you are in favor of the USA chant, that whole scene, and I don't have a problem with it either, but that whole scene was Ryder Cup, from the cheering and the yelling of USA to Bryson. And I don't have a problem with this, but this isn't golf etiquette. Bryson putting before the guy that he was playing with and then going crazy.
That's not on Bryson, though. Because golf etiquette is he was out.
He was out.
No,
he was out.
That's not on him. That's on Pavon. I was going to bring that in.
Crazy.
That's what he's supposed to do.
He almost fell down on the ground, rolling around doing bear claw.
What's supposed to happen, and what has happened in previous major championships, is Matthew Pavon. And first of all, I hate the way he spells his name, because he's because he's a Frenchman.
Well, let's not hate him because he's French.
Well, I don't hate him because he's French. I hate him because of the way the French spell Matthew. MatthieU. I hate that. Okay. Anyway, I don't hate him because he's French. Okay. I love French people, Wemby. Don't think I do.
Okay, sorry.
Anyway, Matthew Pavon is technically inside of Bryson. And so what has happened in previous majors is you know that this guy's about to win the U.S. Open. You know it. You say, "Do you want me to clear it for you?" His ball marker, if you look, his marker was almost in Bryson's line.
Bryson didn't want the pressure of putting that thing out.
No, that's not true.
Oh, that's why he didn't do it.
No, Pavon didn't even ask. And that's the golf.
I thought Bryson was going to take his shirt off and run around like this. I
wouldn't have had a problem with it if he did.
Oh my gosh. I don't either. But like the same people that are hollering out for, that's my point, is the people that are yelling for Bryson are yelling at Rory for not coming out and be like, "Congratulations, Bryson, on winning the U.S. Open."
Yeah. Yesterday was so good and so horrible in so many different ways, just because like I do root for Rory. Yes. I can't even imagine how yesterday felt. So I feel really bad for him. But in the same vein, I feel really like I'm happy for Bryson. And I was totally on the Brooks side of things.
Yeah.
When they had that, I don't like any LIV golfers really. Even me, who was like super PGA or bust, like I've softened up on all the LIV guys now. Like I really don't give a crap anymore about that stuff.
So here's the thing. I think I might need to turn in my USA card, but like of all the golfers right now, because there's no Tiger, I mean, I root for Rory above Brooks, Bryson, Scotty, Jordan,
I root for Scotty.
Justin. By the way, just one quick little Tiger thing, and this was monumentally a shift in my being. I tweeted out, I guess sometime last week, please stop asking him. Please, please, please stop asking Tiger Woods at any golf tournament that he plays, and it's only going to be the majors. Stop asking him if he thinks he's going to win. He's not going to win. He's not. He's not going to win ever again. So stop asking it. What do you want him to say? Do you want him to look you in the eye and say, no, I'm not going to win. I'm just here because I don't know why. It's just, I got to be honest, Matt, as a guy who's watched almost every shot he's ever hit, it's sad to watch, and it's a gut punch every time somebody does that now. Do you think you're going to win the tournament?
Well, he still did a lot better than Phil Mickelson did. So
where was Phil?
At the bottom of the standings.
Did he play?
He played. He was 9 over on day 1 and like 8 over on day 2 or something like that.
Holy gosh.
He didn't hit a birdie all tournament. On that happy note, we're going to get to the decapitation of Caitlin Clark.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
So in case you missed it yesterday, the Fever played the Sky in Indiana, and we can roll that tape real quick, Luis. This play right here is the one in question.
Down goes Caitlin.
So Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark obviously have a history of Iowa, LSU, and all of the pub that Caitlin Clark gets. And then this happens in that game. And it, to me,
that angle's the word. That third angle seems to be
it's not
the
a great angle. So putting the game aside, I mean, let's hear from Angel Reese, who didn't do herself any favors either right after the game. But this is what Angel Reese said after the game and after that hit.
It's a basketball play. I can't control the refs. They affected the game obviously a lot tonight. So I'm always going for the ball, but y'all gonna play that clip 20 times before Monday. So it's cool. I think we went up really strong a lot of times, and we didn't get a lot of calls. And going back and looking at the film, I've seen a lot of calls that weren't made. I guess some people got a special whistle, but
so I'm going to try and put this as delicately as possible. Regarding the play, I didn't think I think it's a borderline play. It's a basket. I wouldn't mind if she said it was a basketball play. I was trying to make a play on the ball. Sure. I think it's all the context that surrounds it. You have the rivalry between Angel Reese and between Caitlin Clark. You have 2 weeks ago, Kennedy Carter, that whole debacle when Kennedy Carter pushes over Caitlin Clark during the last matchup between the Sky and the Fever. And now you have Angel Reese coming in, hitting her upside the head, whether intentional or not. It's a bad look. And you have all of the things that Angel Reese has said. In 20 years, they're going to remember my impact on this game as well as hers. Like, she is so clearly I'll give her the benefit of the doubt. That was a basketball play, sure. Even if it was, you take it to mean the wrong thing because of everything that has gone into this. Like, it's such a bad look for Angel Reese, despite how great she is and despite how great Caitlin Clark is. It's just, you're adding so much fuel to the fire by what you do and say at this point.
So, there's so many things with this. Number one, kudos to them and their rivalry for getting us to talk about this. Fair. It's everywhere all the time. However, I can't remember who I was listening to last week who said it. They summed it up best, so I'll steal it from them. Nobody's going to be talking about this in a month and a half. And I don't mean because the season will still be going on, but football will be here. And I mean, this is a great thing for sportscasters around the country to have in the dead period of, maybe you don't have an NBA team to root for now. You don't care about baseball and you're waiting 2 months out for football. Here's the thing that I sort of go back and forth with. The race war is nauseating, and it's a real turnoff because every time you see a WNBA story, it's almost now we have some player going after some player, and generally it appears like it's a African-American player going up against Caitlin Clark, and half the time the announcer, not the player, but the announcer has somehow made it about race. I don't know if it's about race or not, but I don't think everything about this has to be race. I am old enough to remember Bird versus Magic, and that was fantastic when it comes to rivalry. You had a white guy, you had a black guy. I don't know if you saw color or not. I was 11 years old. I saw green and I saw purple. And those are the colors that I liked. And those were the colors that I rooted for or rooted against. I understand that we live in a different political climate, but the idea that this has become what it's become is a little sickening. The other thing is, Angel Reese said a couple of weeks ago, I'll be the villain. I'll be the villain. You guys need me to be the villain. I'll be the villain. Cool. But you get the when she says the y'all going to do this, 20 times, she doesn't want to be the villain. If she wanted to be the villain, then she would just accept it. But there's always this challenge. And then there's, just so we're clear, just so we can make sure that we're a little bit even with everything, sometimes I get the feeling that this is one of those NBA fights where the second person gets the tech. The second person gets called out. The second person is the one that gets in trouble. If you guys think that Caitlin Clark is not doing anything to sort of egg some of this on, and by the way, I think it's good. And by the way, I think what Angel Reese did, I think it was a basketball play. And even if it wasn't, I'm okay with that too. Because I liked the bad boys in the 80s from the Pistons. I like a little bit of oomph. I like a little bit of angst with my sports, my heroes, my villains, whatever you want to call them. I just think there's a little bit more to all of this. But the idea that for the most part, we've turned this into the African-American players in the WNBA against the lone white star, which, by the way, is not true to begin with.
Yeah, Sabrina Ionescu.
It's just, it reduces this to something that it doesn't need to be.
I agree. It doesn't need to be that. I try and take the race part out of it just because I think it's so absurd sometimes. Even they asked Caitlin Clark about it, and she's like, "Don't use me to push your agenda." And
right. And then that was twisted by some of the other players of like, well, you're here, you have a platform, and it was like, guys, what's happening here?
Yeah. So
what are we doing?
This is what I don't get is like Caitlin Clark can't do anything. Like someone is always going to be mad in this situation, whether it's Angel Reese's fans being mad or whether it's Caitlin Clark's fans being mad. But taking it holistically, you look at it and it's like Caitlin Clark has done everything right. She has said the right things. She has done her best to be the hero that we're all building her up to be.
Yeah.
Be the star that we're all putting her up to be. She says all of the right things in all of her press conferences. And then you have someone like Angel Reese who is doing the wrong things, saying the wrong things, just throwing more fuel on the fire. You guys can let this go if you want to, but Angel Reese and some of the other players keep saying outlandish crap that keeps adding to the narrative. And it's the narrative that obviously Angel Reese is not happy with. You guys are going to play this 20 times by Monday? It's like, yeah, we're probably going to play it 20 times by Monday because you just smacked her upside the head and you're you and she's her. That's how this is going to go. You have known that this is going to happen. You guys played twice in the women's NCAA tournament, and it was just like this. You know that that's going to happen.
But she has, in her defense, she says, but I have a ring.
She does.
And Caitlin doesn't. And I am part of this equation. There can't be a hero without an anti-hero. And whether she wants to be that, whether she doesn't want to be that, and who knows? Maybe there is. There's not a maybe. There is part of this world, part of society, part of reality says it's inverted. That Caitlin Clark is the anti-hero and Angel Reese. It's almost like Cobra Kai, where Huh? It's almost like Cobra Kai, where they've inverted Daniel LaRusso and Johnny Lawrence. I think
Have you-
I think that's what we're seeing
Speaking
here.
of, have you seen How I Met Your Mother?
Yes.
You remember?
Oh.
You remember Barney Stinson thinks that
Oh, it's so great. Yeah.
yeah, thinks
Oh
that
my
Ralph
God.
Macchio is the bad guy.
He was. He hit him on the beach. The guy was just hanging out with his girl, and here comes little Danny LaRusso, and he sucker punches him. Huh?
With an
Guy
illegal crane kick.
Johnny Lawrence gave him back his little radio. So good, man. Guy loved Johnny Lawrence is one of my all-time favorite 80s characters.
So between that and you dropping the anti-hero reference here, we're gonna wrap this thing up as we started it with Taylor Swift references.
But I
So-
do think it's great for I do think all of this is I
It's
wish
good
we
for-
I
it's
wish
good for
we
the
could talk
WNBA.
about basketball. I wish we could just talk about a rivalry. I think some of the outrageous folks in the press who want to make this more than what it is, I wish they'd go away. I wish we could just talk about a really cool physical rivalry between two really good athletes.
We haven't had one of those in WNBA in a long time, and for people who are new to the WNBA, which is basically
Have we ever had
which is basically everybody, I think that is really cool that they have a rivalry. I would just I don't know. It's something about how the rivalry is transpiring that is putting a bad taste in my mouth.
I got you.
Is how I would phrase that. Real quick on the way out, NBA Finals Game 5 tonight.
Yeah.
The Mavs came back and kicked the living crap out of the
Did.
Celtics in Game 4, which was their winner go home game. Basically, every game is winner go home now for the Mavs. Who you got tonight
I like
in
Luka.
Boston?
I like Luka.
You like the Mavs tonight?
Yeah, I think the Mavs win it tonight.
They're 6.5 point underdogs.
Yeah, that doesn't mean anything to me. I think I think Tatum will fold under the pressure tonight.
Really?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
along that point, do you not think that the Celtics have enough to win the game regardless?
No. What do you mean?
Jaylen Brown, Drew Holiday, Kristaps Porzingis if he plays, Al Horford. Do you not
No,
think
I
that their
think
team
that-
is good enough to win regardless?
I do. I think that they have a great team, and I think they'll win this series. I just don't think they win tonight. I mean, they've
the
lost.
pressure of it being in Boston.
Well, they've lost. Already lost a couple of home games. I mean, have they lost on the road? I think they've
lost
the
on
games
the
that
road,
they've
yeah.
lost in the playoffs this year are all at home.
I think they lost one in Indiana.
Certainly coming into the first couple of rounds, the only games that they lost were on the road. I think there's a ton of pressure for them to win, not only at home, but to win tonight. And I like Luka, man. I mean, whether you like his act, whether you think he's a whiner, all of that aside, like he is tough as nails. He seems like he is built for this moment. You want to talk about a guy who likes being the villain. Like that guy likes being the villain.
Oh, by the way, the other person that I was thinking of earlier who's kind of transformed their image is Kyrie Irving.
By far.
Him and Bryson have just done a whole complete 180.
And he's another one.
Yeah.
And he's due.
Yeah, I'll take the Celtics tonight. I don't feel good about it. I'm just gonna go with the money line, but because I look at the odds. So anyway, that's who we got tonight. I can't wait to be
Well, you're
wrong
a
and
degenerate gambler.
maybe not a degenerate.
kidding.
But,
Jordan, I'm
I'm
kidding.
not betting on.
He's
ping
never bet on
pong.
anything.
Sorry, I know we got to wrap up, but a friend of mine the other day did bet on Indian cricket. So that's out there. That's all we got for you today on the Sneakers and Cleats podcast. I'm glad to see that David took his Taylor Swift reference as a champ or like a champ. You two kids have fun. Taylor and Travis, you guys are doing great. Remember to download, rate, review,
It's like
subscribe.
Jack and Diane.
Give us a 5-star rating.
Sucking
Tell a
on
friend,
chili
tell an enemy.
dogs.
We'll be right back
Outside
here on
tasty
Thursday.
food.
Until then, everyone have a good week and happy Father's Day.